We're live. Thanks everyone for coming. Follow me on Twitter, @thereal_G Warner. Gonna keep moving around so the sunlight isn't so bad, but it seems like it's gonna be terrible everywhere. Gonna go through the league slate for this midweek. It's April 5th in the United States. So starting right away with Champions League, as that's the biggest moneymaker. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 6th, Manchester City host Borussia Dortmund. Man City giving a goal and a half, big number for them to give, but ultimately Borussia Dortmund is looking really dangerous for them to even make Champions League next year, which would have been unheard of before the season started. Man City, off of a kind of quiet performance, it still ended up in a 2-0 lead or a 2-0 victory this weekend. I have some questions about Man City's offense at the moment, but their defense has been rock solid, and Borussia Dortmund is good at one thing. Haaland is going to be a big concern for Man City in their defense, but ultimately I think I don't know if that he'll do enough to balance what Borussia Dortmund might give up on the other side. Certainly some value in Borussia Dortmund if they lose 1-0 or some type of scoreline like that. As that first goal goes in, it's a bit of a concern, especially with Dortmund on the road. Probably will want to push forward to try to score. So I would think all the road teams in this round are going to be doing the best they can to get as many away goals as possible. And that might put them in a bit of a dangerous situation, even if they were behind 1-0, as 2-0. This is likely as a 1-1 final score or something like that. The other game tomorrow on Tuesday is Real Madrid hosting Liverpool, currently at Pick'em. Most of the juice on the Liverpool side, I think a lot due to the injury to Sergio Ramos, but also Real Madrid's form could certainly be put in there. Had a good win on the weekend, as did Liverpool on the road at Arsenal. Has not been great in domestic play and just got dethroned or whatever. But ultimately, their Champions League form has been great. I think they've been fortunate to take advantage of some poor teams that they've played, but credit them for taking advantage of what they're doing. And I'm starting to wonder if Diogo Jota has slept in for this Real Madrid game. But it seems like Klopp plays his best players every day that he can. So I don't know what's going on there. Just I think deferring to Firmino's pass is a little bit too much, as he hasn't done too much and seems to be more of a defensive forward, which doesn't. Game. Ultimately, at Pick'em, not a lot to do there for me, as I generally want a team that's going to be an underdog, catching a quarter at the very least. I guess I have some interest in Real Madrid if that line continues to climb. But Liverpool's going to be shooting for away goals. That should be the number one, desire for them. Real Madrid certainly wants to score. Besides Karim Benzema, the defense for Real Madrid, I think, is better than Liverpool's, but ultimately should be a good match, as there's not a lot to separate the two, considering home field advantage, kind of balancing Real Madrid for what's probably a better Liverpool side at the moment. Liverpool also with a lot more money to spend, a lot more money in England than there is in Spain, that perform up to expectations. In terms of two advanced lines, it looks like Man City is a massive favorite, as they should be. And probably will march on to the next round with a good performance tomorrow. Real Madrid is a slight underdog to Liverpool, or currently Liverpool minus 155, 155 to win 100 on Liverpool to advance right now. And I think that makes sense. Real Madrid might be playing to try to keep Liverpool out as much as possible tomorrow, which I think is a good idea when you're at home. But ultimately, until they're underdogs, I'm not sure there's a lot for me to do there. Moving to Wednesday, Bayern München hosting Paris Saint-Germain, and Bayern giving half of a goal. Seems like a lot considering Lewandowski's injury, and he's out for a month and likely misses this entire matchup. And I am curious about what Bayern's offense is going to look like without him. I think a good result against Leipzig on the weekend doesn't say too much because of the draw. But PSG is built and it wants to counter. Bayern's going to give those opportunities as they play pretty thin rotation at the back, meaning that they push a lot of bodies forward, press high, and that I think sets up very well for PSG. So currently getting half of a goal, pretty interested this weekend, but Lille's a decent defensive side, and I think has played pretty well in France this year. And there doesn't seem to be that big of a difference between France and the other leagues so far. So very interested in PSG. Always curious about their lineup and what's the deal with Neymar. I think he should be available, but we'll see. And ultimately, when you have Kylian Mbappe on your side as an under. So I'm very interested in PSG as we speak. Then the other big one, Porto, who was so unexpected to get here, getting 3/4 of a goal from Chelsea. Chelsea with an awful performance on the weekend, a lot behind a red card, which totally reversed a 1-0 lead. But shipping 5 against the worst team or second worst team in their offense. Defense has never been a problem, so I'm not really batting an eye at that one. But ultimately, scoring enough to cover the spread is going to be a big question. Chelsea currently only giving 3/4 of a goal on the road, though, means that 1 goal could be enough for them to win this match and also cost you half a bet if you take Porto. Now, Porto, in my estimation, I don't follow the Portuguese Liga very closely, but played really well, and I think we're the better side against Juve in both of the legs, really, ultimately. Had to take the extra time to advance, but that was a long time ago, and are certainly the minnow in this tournament right now, but I think they still have a pretty good chance. It's had real trouble scoring. If Porto can get on the board, that's a huge advantage and win for them. Though ultimately, I think they're going to be focused on defense and trying to keep the away goals from Chelsea out or to stop those from occurring. So interested in a defensive Porto side that's going to try to counter, especially as they showed they could do it against Juve, who certainly is a little bit weaker than Chelsea. He's not the perfect team whatsoever. In terms of 2 advanced lines, looks like Bayern's a smaller favorite than Liverpool, -130. And then Chelsea, a 375 favorite, I think makes a lot more sense. But I do think that there's some sort of risk to Chelsea not advancing here, as I think Porto, problem for them, and might have eyes on 2 different competitions. And then switching over, I think Bayern, they always have enough attacking talent, so I don't think Lewandowski's absence is really going to be a huge problem. But ultimately, he's replaceable, though he's not replaceable because he's awesome. But I think their biggest problem still is their defense, and we'll see how that works against PSG's speed and ability to counter. Now switching over to Europa League. And this is for Thursday, the 8th of April. Arsenal giving a full goal right now to Slavia Prague. Arsenal looked pretty bad on the weekend. Defensive issues, woe, things like they always do. So I have some questions about Arteta's side. He seems to, everyone loves him or thinks he's a genius, but they've had some really up and down performances. And then who knows really about Tierney's injury and how that'll affect how he sets up. But Slavia Prague has put 2 really good players into play for this side. They knocked out Leicester, knocked out whoever they played last, which was impressive as well. And so I think I'm a believer in them, and certainly getting a full goal of insurance is pretty nice. The same thing here where road goals are a big deal. Sacrificing some defense for offense, but I think ultimately trying to be as close to Arsenal as possible, knowing they're a big underdog, is what they're shooting for. And potentially if they can keep this one close, maybe even lose 1-0, or I'd push on my bet. I think that's very interesting. Dinamo Zagreb against Villarreal. Currently, Villarreal giving a 1/4 goal on the road. Looks like most of the juice on the Villarreal side, so it might trend a little bit higher. I want to be careful about buying into Zagreb because they played so well and knocked out such a big team in Tottenham, but really had to come back from the dead to do that. So curious to see how they'll perform. Villarreal is, I think, a mid-table, or I guess they're fighting for Champions League and other European places in La Liga, but I think are, in terms of the size of the club, are about mid-table in Spain. So they've been outperforming and doing great this competition they have in league play, and I think that's a result of inferior competition that they've seen so far. I'm not sure that I'm in any rush to lay any sort of goal with them on the road, though certainly they'll be pushing for away goals for tiebreakers and such. But I guess I'm interested in Zagreb to see what happens with this number. If it climbs to a half, or if a draw would be a full win, that might be enough side looks. Next, Granada hosting Manchester United. Currently, Granada getting 3/4 of a goal, all the juice on the Manchester United side. Looks like that's going to trend to 1. I would think that Manchester United money, as it always seems to flow, would be a decent idea that this might move to 1. Really questionable in league play. They've done fairly well so far to get to this point in the tournament, I think is probably the best they will ever do. Never is a long time, but certainly I think it's the best they've ever done in their club's history. And this might be the competition that they're most worried about, as I think they're pretty far from European places right now in La Liga. But anyway, Manchester United has had some issues scoring, but Granada's not the defense to really prevent them. And I guess my question is how many can Manchester United score? Because Granada's got some great midfielders. They're so deep at that position that's probably where they're going to try to win this match or play as well as they can in that space. Defense is certainly a question, and they don't want to get into shootout with Manchester United or allow them to counter a ton. But ultimately, I think there's a lot of questions at the Granada side about how to try to fortify their defense while still trying to be a threat offensively. And I think that favors Manchester United quite a bit. At a full goal of insurance, maybe I have some interest in Granada, but I still have a lot of questions about their defense. And once that first goal goes in, it's going to be scoring on a Manchester United defense that I think has been better than people think. And then last Europa League quarterfinal is Ajax giving a half of a goal to Roma. All the juice on the Roma side, so it looks like that might come down to a quarter. It's kind of a big. I was hoping maybe to catch Ajax with being a little bit disrespected in this line. Roma has crushed the smaller teams in Serie A this year, but have struggled with the big ones. Ajax has shown, based on markets and what the point spread or goal spread was from Champions League group play, that they're about even or on. I'm very interested in Ajax here, or was, but not at half of a goal. It's a pretty big number. It makes me almost want to look the Roma direction. As they certainly can score, and they're better against sides that aren't as talented as them. And I think that this Ajax team fits that, but they're certain. I might see or might be a favorite when lines are posted Bet Online to be a favorite to advance out of this matchup or out of this tie. So to recap, as this was a quick video, thanks everyone who watched. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments or hit me on Twitter, @thereal_G Warner. But to recap, not sure that I'm doing much with Champions League tomorrow, but I do really like PSG on Wednesday. I have some interest in Porto as well. Also, the PSG to advance stuff is certainly interesting if I'm liking them as a road team in the first matchup. I'm not sure about Porto. Prague getting one right now from Arsenal. And then we'll be looking at Zagreb. We'll see what happens with the Granada line if that hits one, and looking at Roma right now, but not sure that I'll do too much there. Anyway, thanks for joining the quick video. Hope everyone enjoyed it. His championship, college basketball championship game tonight. Baylor, I think, is going to win the game. So taking 4.5 points is a good idea. Bye.